much indeed.
6 minutes. Thank you.
More than you could have hoped for, I think.
Much more than I could possibly have hoped for, although I have to say that most of my speech will appear on my website. There are some areas in this constitution, there are some areas in the country, and my constituency is an obvious example, where there is a serious mismatch between earnings and housing costs. The average worker in my constituency takes home £20,000 a year and pays tax on that. And the average rent for a two-bedroom flat in inner North London, which is not the most expensive part of my constituency, is over £17,000 a year. So that leaves an average working parent with less than £60 a week for food, clothes, travel and council tax. So it's clear, therefore, that there has to be some form of intervention in areas like this where the rent is so high. Either we build more affordable housing, and I'm sure that everyone here knows and we all agree that that's exactly what we should be doing with the money, or we have to intervene in terms of helping to subsidise rents by putting people into the private market. Yes, I'll briefly.
Does she not recognise that this lack of building has been a problem? And I wouldn't say it was just in the last 13 years, but there has to be some sharing the blame on this. During the last 13 years of a Labour government, there wasn't any substantial building, and that really is the nub of this problem that we now look at, particularly here in central London.
Many of us in this chamber today have been major campaigners on this issue, and I know that the honourable gentleman is. And I have personally been completely outraged that my former Lib Dem council, that was in power for 10 years, only built 1 in 7 of the new flats that were built was social rented housing. Completely inappropriate for a constituency like mine that has the need that it does. Out of 850 Islington families in flats with 2 bedrooms or more, who are currently claiming local housing allowance, HB for private landlords, more than half, over 500 families, will lose benefits under the new capping rules. So they're going to lose out over, some of them are going to lose out over £100 a week. So where are they going to go? I mean, is there room for them in Thornberry and Yate? Where are they going to go, all these families? Are they going to move into cars? Are they going to go? Where does the government expect them to go if all that money is to be lost to them? Because they certainly won't be able to keep their flats. May I make the very obvious point that when I say that expecting housing benefit claimants to live on the cheapest 30% of private rented flats is going to cause real hardship in areas like London, where housing is already in short supply. The differential between the median and the 30th percentile may be very small in some areas. So, for example, in central Lancashire, perhaps in Thornberry and Yate, there is less than £6 difference between a 2-bedroom flat on the median and on the 30th percentile. But where you can get a family home for less than £120 a week. But in Islington, in my constituency, a 2-bedroom flat, the difference between the median and the 30th percentile is £40 a week. The difference between £330 a week and £290 a week. Where are they going to get that money from? What is going to happen? It's fundamentally unfair to expect claimants in my constituency to make up a housing benefit gap of £40 a week, where claimants elsewhere will only be expected to find £6 a week. Accepting all private... Yes, of course I will.
Officialdom clearly accepts that the cap isn't fair because it suggests a cap of £340 for a 3-bedroom flat, whereas IPSA allows £340 for members from outside London to have a 1-bedroom flat. They're saying for a 3-bedroom flat the price of the going rate for a single-bedroom flat.
And in some ways, and on a less serious level, on a much less serious level, the representations that London MPs are making in terms of the additional money that we need in order to be able to run offices are exactly the same argument as we're putting today on behalf of the poorest and most vulnerable of our constituents, who frankly need the help a great deal more, although both of us do. And it is impossible, as the point has already been made, it is unfair to expect all private tenants to compete for the cheapest properties, because private landlords will simply take the easiest families. They will not take the difficult kids. They will not take the people on unemployment benefit. So where will those families go? Are they going to go and live in cars? And I'm also appalled by the suggestion that those who are long-term unemployed will have their housing benefit cut by 10%. Again, I'm sorry to sound like a stuck record, but obviously the effect of families in London on a 10% cut is going to be much more than those who live in Bradford. For in London, you get a 10% cut in your benefit. It may be £25 a week for a 1-bedroom flat, whereas in Bradford it's £8.60. It's not fair and it's not right. These rules will affect large numbers of people in the most deprived areas in London. At the moment, 1,200 Islington residents currently get job seekers allowance or incapacity benefit for over a year. What are they going to do in order to be able to make up that benefit? And the idea that they are intending to be on job seekers allowance because they want to, because they're malingerers, because they don't want to work, I would invite the honourable gentleman, and indeed I would invite his boss, to come along to some of my surgeries and see reality and see the way in which people actually live in London. So build more affordable housing, provide sensible pathways to work, support families through child tax credits and child benefit. Yes, it's social engineering, but it's positive and it's sustainable.